Hello, everybody, and welcome into another quick fire at the Hockey Writers. This is going to be a really quick fire because we've got a trade to announce, and it's a big one. First big one actually before the trade deadline, and it involves a guy that's been in the news quite a bit, Bo Horvat, and he's been in the trade rumors. I would say probably from the beginning of the season, because the Canucks didn't have any money to re-sign him to a long-term deal. So I've got Shane Seney, Mike Fink. Guys, let's talk about this trade, which is so Bo Horvat going to the New York Islanders for Anthony Beauvillier, Aatu Raty, and a protected 2023 first-round pick. So, and that's the key word, it's protected. So if the Islanders do win the lottery, obviously the Canucks don't get that first-rounder. So we'll start with you, Mike. What is your reaction to this? You covered the Islanders, so you've got you're adding Bo Horvat to the team, trading away a pretty good young centerman in Beauvillier, and probably the Islanders' top prospect in Raty. So what do you feel about this trade?
Yeah, there's a lot to digest. I entered this week. My rapid reaction was I didn't believe it at first because all of a sudden the news breaks. I'm like, are you sure? You sure about that? No. So the Islanders getting Horvat. Horvat has 31 goals. The Islanders need offense. I joke that dry January was they averaged 1.92 goals per game or 1.93, which is real bad. So my immediate reaction, yeah, it's like you don't believe it at first, and then you're like, okay, let's digest it. Beauvillier. The story of Beauvillier is that he's promising wing right. On the wing, he plays right wing, left wing, moving around on the both, promising. Raty is the prospect you don't want to give up, but especially if Horvat's a rental, immediately you're thinking like, oh, they have to re-sign him now or plan on re-signing him because of that, because Raty's the guy, and the conditional pick is top 12, I believe. So we'll kind of see how that unravels. I think the big immediate takeaway is the Islanders need a goal scorer. They need someone who the Anders Lee's a finisher near the net. Brock Nelson has emerged as a goal scorer for them. They're the two that lead the team with 19 goals per game each. But Horvat's this guy, another player who can find the back of the net, finish scoring chances, has a good shot, and playing alongside Barzal, like that's what I think might happen. You probably know more about. He's a center. If he's a pure center. Well,
oh yeah.
But basically, if he is like which line he'll play on, that's kind of interesting. That's like to dive into the deep weeds of things. But immediately you're like, okay, this is a big move, big splash, and now you're like, oh, this trade deadline is gonna start get really excited.
So yeah, that's the first big one. Horvat is going to be a centerman. I mean, he wins almost every draw he takes. So he's gonna be a huge driver, possession wise, for any line he'll center. So that's a big one. He takes tons of faceoffs. I believe he's like second in the league in faceoffs taken. He may actually be first. I'd have to look that up. But Shane, reaction. I mean, you're our big trade guy. You do a lot of these trade pieces on the Hockey Writers. So what do you feel about this trade? I know you've written a few pieces on Horvat going elsewhere. Yep. What do you think about this trade for the Islanders? What do you think about the trade for the Canucks? I mean, they're getting their top prospect. They basically got the price that they wanted, the asking price.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit surprised about the return, just because there was a lot of talk about them wanting a young center, a right-handed defenseman, and a first rounder. So they got the first rounder. It's, as we said, top 12 protected and can slide to 2024 if it goes unprotected. But to me, it was just like, what are the Canucks doing here? It didn't make much sense. Obviously, they got a couple of players they can plug and play right now because they're going to try and retool. It's not a full rebuild like has been mentioned before. So to me, it sets the market. Now we get to wait and see what the Ryan O'Reillys are going to bring in, what the Tarasenkos are going to bring in, all the other rentals. Now it's a roster player, a top prospect, and a first rounder. So to me, it's a bit of a buyer's market still. Beauvillier is not the Islanders' best young forward. So I'm kind of on the side that I think the Canucks got fleeced a little bit here, and maybe the quick knee-jerk reaction, but Horvat's a hell of a player. He's having a career year. He's going to do wonders in New York. And you know what? If they can manage to re-sign him, they don't have a ton of money moving forward, but if they can manage to somehow fit his contract in for the next, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, then to me, the Islanders won this trade already.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane, I would add on that is Raty was the Islanders' top prospect, and he's the player that if you had to part with one prospect, he's the one you don't want to let go of. Yeah. And I think with if you want to analyze Raty's game, I mean, you guys been covering from the juniors and from the prospect system, but based on what he sees, he's a player who's a complete center. He's like, if you can comp him maybe to Bergeron, he's not as good as Bergeron, but he's a guy who can help out the defense a little bit in Vancouver. He can help out just the overall game. We still got a long way to go. But if you're saying, I mean, that's the thing that's the catch is that I think the Islanders, they didn't want to part with Raty, but because they threw him in, and that's the sweetener in the deal that could even things. That's like a big part of it, I think.
Yeah. From my perspective, like I cover the Canucks, so it's disappointing from especially what they were looking at from other teams that could have potentially given them more. But I mean, I love Raty as a prospect. I think he's going to be a heck of a player in the NHL. I don't know how good he'll get, like his ceiling, but I mean, I'm okay with the prospect side. Beauvillier has been an up and down prospect. Mike, I know he's been kind of inconsistent offensively, right? He's a fast forward. I know he'll add speed to the Canucks, so that's good. He's in that 20 to 25-year-old range, which is what the Canucks want moving forward in the retool that they're doing. But and then that first round pick, I mean, that's a big one. I think the Canucks needed to have a first round pick in this deal. So I mean, the three pieces, they're there, but I don't know. I think other teams may have been able to give more. I think teams just knew that the Canucks had to move them. I mean, that's just how it is, especially after they re-signed Kuzmenko.
Who are the middle six centers for Vancouver right now? That's kind of what I'm curious, because Beauvillier plays the wing, and he's very dependent on the center he plays alongside. So I'm kind of curious. Right.
Well, the Canucks now, I mean, without Horvat, they've got JT Miller, who's I believe is not a natural center. I think he's more on the wing. So it's just Pettersson. And then your other guys down the middle, they switch around so much. They got Curtis Lazar, who goes in and out. Yeah, and now the center depth is it's been a bit destroyed. I mean, I know Raty will come in and he may play a bit this year, depending on if they want to keep him in the minors or he'll play. I know he's played a few games in the NHL.
He's played. The thing is, that's a catch about this trade is he's played enough games that and 1 year of his entry-level contract is already expired. I mean, not expired, but like this year is already counted towards it. He's played, I think, 10 or 11. Yeah. So I guess that's part of what interesting is that if you're the Canucks now, do you bring Raty in for the rest of the season to see like where he fits in, or do you bring him to the prospect? Yeah, kind of curious about that.
Well, that's going to be the question. We'll see what happens with the Canucks of what they do. They basically said that's the first trade. I think there's more to come. I think Besser's getting traded at some point here. There's going to be some other guys on the move now. They've made this first big trade. Horvat gone, and it'll depend. I don't know if the Islanders are going to re-sign him to a long-term, or is he just going to be a rental. The Islanders aren't set to make the playoffs either, right? So I think this is a push to try to make it.
For the Canucks, like they had 5 weeks still, and this is the best this is what you think is the best.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the pressure would have been able to be, if they would have waited closer to the deadline, there would have been a lot more, I think. But yeah. It's interesting of what this trade went down. I didn't expect it to happen at this point. I thought it was going to get closer to the deadline, but this is the first one. Maybe this is the first domino. Maybe we'll start seeing Ryan O'Reilly going soon. Jonathan,
I'm tired of writing about rumors. I'd like to write about an actual trade. So.
Yeah.
That's not true at all. But
now that's the end of Horvat trading trade rumors, trade targets, which I'm a bit happy about. So. But thanks, guys, for coming on, reacting to the trade. Mike, I know you'll be writing some stuff on Horvat, so Islanders fans, get ready for that. You'll get some coverage on that. And Shane, I'm sure you'll be talking a lot more about targets and now shifting focus to the different guys that are going to be on the move. So thanks for tuning in to another quick fire, everyone. We haven't had one in a while, but we'll have a lot more here as the big trades get going, and we'll get some trade reaction right away. So thanks for joining us, and shoot us a comment on what you think this trade is. Do you think the Canucks got away with a good deal? Do you think the Islanders kind of fleeced the Canucks on this trade? Give us your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on another Quickfire.